Okay, good afternoon, everybody. I hope that everybody is safe and well. Welcome to this exclusive introduction to SAM Learning for Oxfordshire Teaching Schools Alliance, and thank you all for taking this time to learn a little more about SAM Learning, who we are, what we do, how we do it, and why schools are finding huge success with us today. My name is Stephanie King and I am the Commercial Director here at SAM Learning, and I think that you will all agree with me when I say that education is a different place at the moment to the one that we knew earlier on in 2020. COVID-19 has spread across the globe in a way that not many people thought it would, and the ramifications of it have been felt heavily in every sector. But the way that it has and potentially will continue to cause havoc on student attainment is something that is of huge importance to address, and companies such as SAM Learning are committed to not only helping schools through this challenging time, but also, as we've been doing for over 20 years now, helping schools raise attainment using the very best of educational technology. It is also my pleasure to say that we have agreed a 20% time limited discount for the schools with an Oxfordshire Teaching Schools Alliance to subscribe to SAM Learning should they wish to after this webinar. We will also be hearing shortly from Leslie Welsh, Principal at George Pinder School, who has been using SAM Learning for a number of years. Leslie will be providing us with an overview of how her school is using SAM Learning currently and sharing advice and best practice. But before we go over to Leslie and then live into the system, I wanted to first, for the people here that have not heard of SAM Learning before, let you know who we are and what we do. SAM Learning is one of the original EdTech providers in the UK. We've been around for over 25 years now and continue to be the #1 option for schools that are looking for a system that is proven to raise attainment for all students, and particularly those that are considered disadvantaged. Our range of auto marking activities span all key stages and 27 subjects across all UK exam boards, which means that you really only need one system in place rather than many to deliver the same result. In one place, you get an online learning system full of ready-to-use content and world-class assess and review technology. You get an independent learning system that students can access 24/7, all within the confines of an award-winning product. You can also be certain that you are getting one of the very few systems out there today that have been independently proven to work over a number of years now. Both the Education Endowment Fund report and the Fisher Family Trust reports show that when a student logs on to SAM Learning for 10 hours throughout the course of their GCSE year, they receive 1 GCSE grade better in 2 subjects, an equivalent progress aid gain of +0.2. But where the impact of SAM Learning becomes even more impressive is when we focus specifically on the impact it has on your disadvantaged students, who see on average with the same level of usage 1 GCSE grade better in 3.5 subjects. That's an equivalent progress aid gain of +0.35, which, as I'm sure you will agree, is impressive. For this very reason, we now offer the SAM Learning Guarantee Package for new customers joining us during the curriculum year 2020, where SAM Learning offers you guaranteed learning success or your money back. The system also allows you and your staff to create their own feature-rich content that is only limited by your imagination and style. You can use YouTube videos, sound clips, audio, pictures, and web links to really level up your current offerings for differentiation. The reporting on SAM Learning also allows you to easily identify gaps in knowledge and then put interventions in place to first narrow and then eventually close them. And of course, we are 100% online, which means that no matter whether your pupils are in or out of school, they will always have access to high quality learning materials which are accessible on any electronic device, including mobile phones and tablets. Okay, so I'm now going to introduce you to Leslie Welsh, who is going to provide an overview of how her experiences with SAM Learning. Good afternoon, Leslie. Thank you for joining us today. First of all, could you give us a brief overview of your school and its geographical context?
Yeah, hi Stephanie, absolutely. So we're an 11 to 16 fully inclusive school in the south of Scarborough, in the middle of a council estate called Eastfield. We have 661 students on roll, and although we have a smaller year 11 at the top end, we're now managing to get a healthier intake, and it's stable throughout years 7 to 10. We do have a significant issue in the area with in-year movement. 42% of our children are in receipt of pupil premium, and 53% of our cohorts live in the most disadvantaged areas on the IDACI ratings. Our school was given the Ofsted rating of serious weaknesses in June 2017 and began the process of academisation. We finally crossed the line in March 2019 with our sponsors, the Hope Learning Trust Multi-Academy Trust in York, and I took up the post as principal in April 2019, becoming the 4th head teacher in 5 years, but have been there ever since.
Thank you, Leslie. And what are the most pressing challenges at the moment that you feel Sam Learning has helped you with?
I think we've been really lucky so far, as we, touch wood, have not yet had to send home a whole year group bubble, but I do feel that COVID is circling at all times, and knowing that our staff and students are totally clear on how to use Sam Learning is a real lifesaver. For students who are not able to be in school for any reason, knowing that they and we can get immediate feedback on tasks that they've completed is a real lifesaver for us. We've adopted a blended approach to remote learning, where classwork is set using the Google Classroom platform, but for the vast majority of our staff, tests, including any low stakes assessments and quizzes, are then set on Sam Learning because our students are so used to it. On any day, we have up to 10% of our school community not working inside the school building, so having Sam Learning in place is helping us a great deal. Staff morale and staff workloads also a really huge pressure at the moment, and I think we had a feeling that staff would struggle with the move to year group bubbles and the lack of their own personal classroom, but I don't think we could have fully anticipated quite how exhausting staff would find this. So using Sam Learning for homework tasks, but also in lessons for low stakes assessments, has been fantastic. And knowing that that whole level of marking can be removed from colleagues' days because it's such a smooth system and they can schedule tasks weeks and months in advance is so powerful. At the moment, I feel as leaders we're treading a really fine line. We know that as a school we need to improve student outcomes, and therefore there are high demands being made of our staff to push students to strive for success, revise, do their homework, work ever harder. But we need to balance that with how much staff can physically and mentally cope with in their lives, and this is where Sam helps us a lot. Also, we have a desire to be as paper-free as possible, and that's helped by Sam Learning during these times. Our risk assessment does allow for staff to take books away from a classroom and to mark them, but it does mean that staff need to take some extra precautions. So if they can have tasks auto-marked by Sam Learning, that's a real boon. And then finally, in terms of catch up and what we found out about which students need more, which specific interventions, the ability to use Sam in a far more bespoke way is fantastic. I think too many options force you into a one-size-fits-all model, which means that some of the students who have the most challenges are not able to access materials and resources without significant support. And that's not the case for Sam Learning, due to the ability to differentiate down to an individual student level and respond to their own particular needs or better target support. We have found that students have tackled lockdown work with varying degrees of success, and so therefore when we've done that RAG analysis and analysed the results from low stakes assessments, there are areas we've needed to pinpoint, and Sam Learning has helped us to do that.
Fantastic. And what were the main reasons that you purchased Sam Learning, Leslie?
Initially, I bought it to tackle a complete indifference to any learning away from the school site. You know, mine was a school where students didn't have a habit of completing work at home. In fact, when I first came here, this was also a school where some students didn't have a habit of completing work in school. But I knew that in order to improve those atrocious results, we needed to do something differently. And we couldn't expect our students to engage in more traditional off-site revision. And I was really inspired by the results of the research that you've just shown us, which showed the impact SAM Learning could have on GCSE results for students for what seemed like a fairly small outlay by students in terms of the number of hours they were required to spend on their work. I already had good experiences from using SAM Learning in 2 previous schools, and I was really delighted by the feedback from staff and students in those schools. 2 schools ago, I'd spent months being told by my maths colleagues about how amazing it was to be able to set maths work online. And it felt to me as an MFL teacher that there was a real injustice in them getting online lists of work being completed, while as I was struggling with remembering to set homework, remembering to print out a worksheet, and then even remembering to collect it in and chase up missing tasks. And SAM Learning takes all of that stress away from me.
Fabulous. And what has the impact been of your school buying SAM Learning?
The impact has actually been phenomenal. I am a firm believer that success breeds success, and it's helped us develop real positivity around completing tasks outside of the normal classroom environment, and we've then been able to celebrate academic success. In terms of staff workload, it's been a huge issue at my school in the past, and we have had historical issues with staff absence due to some stress, and I am certain that SAM Learning has contributed to allowing staff to better manage their work. The rollout was so straightforward. Honestly, the system is so easy to use that my teachers were able to start setting tasks after an introduction in a 5-minute briefing, and they've kept on going. SAM can be used as an exit ticket to check student understanding without having to read through every answer, a chance to assess current progress, a support to narrow gaps, and it can be set so intuitively. We do have teachers who set a term's worth of revision and intervention at the beginning of the year so they can manage their workload, and that's just phenomenal. And then in terms of raising achievement, there has definitely been an improvement in outcomes over the last year, even notwithstanding the CAGs. And we've used SAM a great deal with our Pupil Premium Flywheel group. So last year, our PP lead ran a series of highly successful interventions through SAM Learning, and we're doing the same this year. We've been able to use data from baseline testing to set up intervention groups on SAM and set weekly additional tasks to support and challenge these young people to improve. We link that with increased parental contact and weekly meetings with students to help them catch up and engage them in their learning.
And how have your students taken to SAM Learning since you introduced it?
My students adore SAM Learning. Over 90% of our learners are active on SAM Learning, and so far this year they've already completed 5,567 hours on SAM. Last year they actually completed over 50,000 hours, which is an incredible achievement, and they were already getting up there even before lockdown. The engagement outside the classroom environment is just incredible. Students want to practice on SAM Learning, they want to get higher point scores, and they want to move up the leaderboard. This is a really huge shift for us. One of our core values is being determined, and that's what we are driving with the students. I celebrate those students who repeatedly do the same activity, because every time they do it, they're engaging with that material and they can improve because of it.
Fantastic. And what about the parents? What do they think about SAM Learning?
Well, we've noticed that our families are getting on board with SAM Learning, as they can watch their children engaging with it and they can be proud of them for it. We really celebrate those children who are SAM Learning leaders by having prize draws from the top 50 users at the end of half term, which is brilliant. And what families have told us is they think it's great that SAM can be used on any device that has a browser, rather than relying on a laptop or a desktop computer, which so many of our families simply don't have. We also use Google Classroom, and we've noticed that engagement with SAM Learning is much better than Google. And when we're talking to families, they say it's because they get how to use it.
And what do you think are the most powerful parts of SAM Learning for the school?
Well, I've been a huge fan of it for years. It's our go-to tool for setting and receiving class homeworks with all the huge workload benefits that entails. But the changes that have been made to SAM Learning over the last few years have made it a really polished tool to fully engage with individual members of your class. The ability to differentiate a task down to an individual level is revolutionary, whilst ensuring that teacher workload isn't compromised because of how straightforward SAM Learning is. The wealth of resources on the site is incredible. Teachers are always able to find a task that complements the work they're doing. And of course, Activity Builder, which you showed, is just revolutionary. I think one of the biggest bugbears of teachers of minority subjects, for example, some of our technology options or more vocational qualifications, is that there are no off-the-shelf resources available to them from the biggest names. So being able to design their own materials in such a user-friendly way is incredible for these staff. And in fact, lots of my teachers during lockdown, they use some of their time to use Activity Builder, and it's really borne fruit. Because our students are so used to the SAM Learning interface, they can really interact with all their subjects through it. And the motivational aspects of SAM Learning are massive. I could never have predicted that 90% of my children would be regularly accessing work off the main school site when I started working at George Pinder. And now they are doing that, and it's not just a one-off.
Fantastic. And would you say that SAM Learning has made the lives of your teaching staff easier? And if so, how?
Yeah, for very little time outlay, it gives them high quality evidence about the strengths and areas for development of every child in their classes, while saving them time and ensuring that they can then focus on teaching high quality content. It allows them to balance their workload and helps give them highly relevant targeted tasks to students with very little effort.
Fantastic. And what advice would you give to other head teachers in the Oxfordshire Teaching Schools Alliance that are considering buying SAM Learning?
Well, I've been using SAM Learning at schools I've worked in over the last 10 years, and each time I've introduced it, it's solved a myriad of problems that the school had no idea how to tackle. The impact on achievement in each of these schools speaks for itself. So my advice would be, with a carefully designed strategy which ensures that it remains high profile for students and staff, you will get the biggest and best buy-in, and it will make a difference to your young people's outcomes. Do make sure that you have one colleague who has the leadership of SAM Learning as a large part of their role. Think about where that would sit best, and then challenge them on the impact that it can make. We have an associate senior leader who has SAM as part of her pupil premium leadership role, and she has ensured its profile has never slipped, and that has made all the difference.
Thank you so much, Leslie. And for anyone that would like to speak to our guest speaker directly, please do get in touch, and I'm sure we could get something arranged for you and set up in the diary. Okay, so now that we've spoken briefly about what SAM Learning is, and you've heard from one of our user schools, I'm now happy to open the gates, as it were, and invite you all into a live tour of the SAM Learning platform. So I'm now just going to move over to the system for you. Okay, so on the screen in front of you, you should be able to see the SAM Learning homepage. The SAM Learning system is really simple for classroom teachers to navigate. We have an easy to use navigation bar and a range of support links and features available. As mentioned earlier in today's presentation, we have thousands of pre-prepared activities available for teachers and learners on the SAM Learning system. However, we do understand that you may wish to personalise the content to suit your learners' needs, or in fact, create your own content, which is why on the system, we do have an activity builder. With the activity builder, you have a range of different screen types to choose from to include in your activities. So you can see here, you've got a choice of free text slides, multiple choice radio buttons, drag and drop style screens, and so on. You could even use the activity builder to build baseline assessments for topics and subjects that you were teaching from. With the activity builder, you can embed pictures, YouTube videos, web links, and audio snippets. So if you have podcasts that you want your learners to listen to and upload to the system, you can do so. And what you can also do is select the grades that's available for each activity that you create. You can adjust the grade boundaries, and if you want to set a countdown timer to create some pressure for the learners, you can do so. Sam Learning also rewards teachers for creating and sharing content with the Sam Learning community with our Share Reward scheme. So for the first 5 activities that a teacher does create and shares with the Sam Learning community, they do receive a £20 Amazon voucher from Sam Learning. Following that, we do have monthly rewards available. So we will release those on a monthly basis where teachers can earn even more Amazon rewards for creating and sharing content on the system. So that's just a brief tour of the Activity Builder. Now, the 3 main functionalities that a teacher will use on Sam Learning is setting tasks, creating groups, and then accessing the reporting system to monitor the progress of each activity that's been completed on the system. So I'll first introduce you to the group section on Sam Learning. So Sam Learning allows you to create groups at a class level. So classroom teachers can create differentiated groups within their classes for lower, middle and higher ability learners, for different learner characteristics such as pupil premium, SEN, English as an additional language, and also for the different learning types. So you may create groups for the different learning types within your class. You can also create groups based on school priority areas, such as catch-up literacy and numeracy, catch-up for different subject areas, booster groups, and those are from a disadvantaged background. And then finally, you can also focus on individual learners. So this is particularly useful for persistent absentees or internal exclusion units where you need to set work to a specific learner. Once your groups are created on the system, you then go over to set the tasks to the particular groups or learners. So as mentioned earlier, Sam Learning has thousands of pre-prepared content on the system. Our content is broken down by key stage as well as targeted intervention. Within the targeted intervention folder, teachers have access to differentiated content for all of the EBAC subjects as well as catch-up literacy and numeracy. For today's presentation, however, I will be focusing on GCSE. However, we do have content for every other key stage as well, from 1 to 5. Now, as you can see, we have 27 GCSE subjects to choose from. And depending on which activity you choose, which subject area you choose, you will see that it's broken down into exam board. Sam Learning covers all the main exam boards in England and Wales. We then have 11 different activity types to choose from. These include revise activities, improve activities for your more lower ability learners. You have real world activities that put learners into real world situations. We have test questions and full exam papers, which familiarise learners with the mark schemes. You have share resources, which are the resources that's been shared by the other Sam Learning users. We have editable content on the system. And then finally, we have exam essentials, which prepares the learners and gives them everything they need in preparation for the GCSE AQA Science Trilogy exam. We will be adding to that folder over the coming months and years also. So I'm now going to move over to show you and demonstrate a few of the activities that's available on the system. So this is an example of a revise activity. So as you can see, it's very engaging. It's a drop-down menu style exercise. And what the learners would need to do is read the information that's been provided on the topic that they're revising and select what they feel is the correct answer. If they get the answer correct, they will receive a tick and a mark on the system, which will go towards their leaderboard. The learner would then move on to the next part of the activity. If they get the answer incorrect, an exclamation mark will appear and they won't be able to move on to the next part of the activity until they get the answer correct. If the learner reattempts the question and gets the answer correct, the system will mark it correctly for them. However, you will notice the tick is now grey and they will not have received a mark for that particular answer. And that is because SAM Learning will only register the learner's first attempt answer, which gives you as the teacher an indication as to how well they've understood a topic. You can see how well they progress over time the more that they attempt an activity, and it encourages a learner to reattempt the task as well. So as you can see, there's a range of different style of screen available for learners to work through in order for them to remain engaged. And then when they get to the end of the activity, the system will mark the work for them. They will receive a percentage score. They receive points and bonus points for getting answers correct the first time round, and an overall point score which will go towards the leaderboard, creating that healthy competition amongst your learners. Each activity also has its very own direct web link, so you can use it alongside other systems such as Show My Homework, or even email the activity directly to a learner using the link. The self-assessed questions on the system are slightly different. Learners are given a question based on the topic that they've been studying, and then they're given the opportunity to type in what they feel is the correct answer. The learner would then work their way through the activity, typing in the answers that they feel work correctly. And then when they get to the end of the activity, they click the marking button and the system will provide them with a mark scheme to self-assess their work. So it's a fantastic way for learners to really familiarise themselves with what is expected of them within an exam. The learner would use the mark scheme to assess their work, and then when they get to the end, they would click the finish button. And again, they're given a percentage score, points and bonus points, and an overall point score which will go towards the leaderboard. Teachers are able to see how learners have used and applied the mark schemes, and I'll go on to show you how to do that later in today's presentation. So once you've looked at the activities and you're happy with what you want to set for your learners, it's really quick and easy to set an activity on SAM Learning. All you do is down the left-hand side, tick the check boxes of the activity or the activities that you wish to set your learners. You then select who you would like to receive the work. So I'm going to select one of my classes. And one of my intervention groups. You then give the activity a name. And then set a date and time for the work to go live to the learners and a date and time for the work to be completed. I'm going to allow these learners 1 week to complete this piece of work. You then click confirm and the work is then set to the learners. So it's really simple, fast, time and cost saving to set a piece or multiple pieces of work on SAM Learning. A teacher will know that the work is going to be marked for them and they're going to receive a real-time report on the progress of each and every learner that is completing the piece of work set. 1 minute after the deadline, the teachers who set the work will also receive in their inbox the following offline report. This will show you for each learner within the group or class that's been set this piece of work, their first attempt score, their last attempt score, and the number of attempts that they've made to that piece of work, along with the average score for that group or class compared to the national average on SAM Learning. Okay, So I'm now going to move over to the reports and demonstrate the real-time reporting suite that is available to teachers on Sam Learning. The first report that I'm going to demonstrate to you is the tasks report. What the task report will show you, for each and every task that you've set this academic year and previous years, you will be able to see the start and due date, and you can go in at any time and edit a task that you've set. For each piece of work, you're able to pull up a more detailed real-time report, which will demonstrate to you the percentage of the exercise attempted for each and every learner that's been set that piece of work. You will be able to see the average score, as well as the RAG rating for each learner. If a learner has achieved below 60%, they will be on red, 60 to 80%, amber, and anything above that, green. So you can see the secure and insecure learning taking place. You will also be able to see if the learner has submitted the work on time, and if you would like more detailed information on your learners, you can see the number of attempts they've made, their first score, last score, and their best score. You can see the date that the work has been completed, which is fantastic if learners are to be completing a piece of work on a specific date. And what you can also then go on to look at is the answers. So if a learner has completed one of those self-assess activities, you will be able to see exactly what they've put for their answers, as well as how they've applied the mark scheme. You can also print each and every report off, as well as the self-assessed pieces of work, so that if you do need to provide some feedback, you've got the opportunity to do so. In addition to the set task reports, you also have access to real-time progress reports on the Sam Learning platform, which is fantastic for you to track and monitor the progress of each and every learner within your school. What the progress reports will demonstrate to you for each and every learner is the task hours that they've completed on Sam Learning, along with the task hours outside of school time. You will be able to see the set task hours, as well as the average score on the revision activities and the average RAG rating for each learner. Now, the fantastic thing about our progress reports is you can filter by a range of different ways. So you can focus on specific year groups, specific classes, intervention groups that have been created in school, as well as a range of learner characteristics such as pupil premium, free school meals, and special educational needs. You simply select the group, class, or area that you wish to focus on. So I'm just going to select my literacy class as an example, my literacy group, sorry. And as you can see here, for each and every learner within the group, I have a breakdown of the progress being made. If, for instance, I want to focus on a particular learner and find out a little bit more about the progress that they've made in that particular area, you can select the learner and see all of the work that they've completed, as well as their RAG scores. In addition to the progress reports, you also have access to real-time usage reports, which track the usage on Sam Learning by month, by subject, and by year group. The usage reports will demonstrate to you the task hours completed on Sam Learning, as well as the task hours outside of school. You will be able to see how many learners are active and the average task hours per learner. So you can see our learners heading towards achieving those 10 task hours as recommended by the Fisher Family Trust. Here at Sam Learning, we want to ensure all schools that collaborate with ourselves are provided with the support and tools to get maximum benefit from their investment and achieve their whole school and individual teacher goals. We are pleased to inform you that Sam Learning provides an extensive online CPD programme, a catalyst to facilitate enhanced teacher performance and teacher best practice. All subscriptions come with a 90-day launch programme, including training and support with setup. You have unlimited support available for the duration of your subscription by our dedicated school success team, all of which are qualified educational professionals. So you can see there's a range of videos available on our CPD Centre, as well as a range of support materials available at your fingertips 24/7. I'm now going to move on to show you what a student would see when they log into Sam Learning to give you an indication of that also. So on the screen in front of you now, you have an example of our student platform. Not only does Sam Learning support with the enhancement of teacher performance and best practice, our #1 aim is to develop the performance of those that are most important to each school, the learners. By providing the combination of challenge, curiosity and fantasy, Sam Learning encourages independent learning and motivation for learners to learn due to the gamification and reward element of the system. You can see on the top of the screen here, each learner has access to Sam World. The more points they achieve and the more work that they complete on the Sam Learning system, the more they can move and develop through the Sam Learning system. Each learner can design their very own exclusive avatar and enhance the visuals of their avatar the further they progress on the Sam Learning system. They also have the option to compete with their friends to provide healthy competition. With access to all of the content bundles and subject areas on Sam Learning, learners really can take control of their own learning. Sam Learning can be used also as an online planner for learners to track and monitor the completion of topics to be completed, which have been set by class teachers. Learners have real-time access to their completed and incomplete tasks so that they can ensure they are on track and making progress within each subject area. So as you can see here, this learner has a list of work that needs to be completed and they can put it into order of when the work is due. Sam Learning also encourages positive education as learners can identify their strengths and areas of development via the My Progress section. Here learners can monitor the set task hours completed for each subject area and use this data to set themselves challenging goals in order to complete their work. In addition to this, learners can take responsibility of their own learning by identifying the subject areas where they may be off track and revisiting these areas to improve their understanding. So as you can see here, the learner has an overview of all the task hours completed for each area, and they can click on that specific subject area to see exactly how well they've performed, what they've completed, and if they need to revisit any topics in order to improve their understanding. So as mentioned earlier, we do have an agreed time-limited offer of a 20% discount for Oxfordshire teaching schools to subscribe to Sam Learning, which is valid until the 18th of December 2020. This includes all the functionality in Sam Learning with no limitations whatsoever. And if you order before the Christmas holidays, we can ensure that you are trained and up and running for the new year. I am now happy to take any questions if you would like to ask them live on this webinar. So if you type your questions in the questions box on the right-hand side of the screen, I will be able to get back to you with answers to those. Alternatively, if you wish to discuss anything further or arrange a more specific demonstration to suit your needs, please get in touch at sking@samlearning.com and the contact number on the screen in front of you. I've also included in the right-hand side control panel some handouts for you to take away and download, including our Sam Learning brochure and introductory video. I would once again like to take this opportunity to thank you for your time today, and I look forward to hopefully speaking to you again very soon.